They don't understand the music business. They don't understand business, period. If they did, they would never tell producers to sell a product in a market where that product has zero demand. It doesn't make sense. And that's the worst beat selling advice you could ever give a person. Good morning, everyone. What's going down? It's a Music Entrepreneur Club podcast. My name is DJ Payne One. I am joined by my co-hosts, Erinn Knight and Dame Ritter. And Dame's about to go off on Drake.
No, definitely not about to go off on Drake. Do have a couple of updates. One, I want to shout out Russell. I just saw a tweet that he signed with Russ. So don't know any details about the deal, but I'm sure, obviously Russ has been moving independently, had a deal with Columbia, joint venture deal, and then moved back to being independent. I think this could be a dope move because obviously Russ is very successful independent artist. And I think that the deal is probably super favorable to Russell. Probably because Russ is a good dude, but also like it adds to his brand of being an independent artist. Like I don't think Russ can put anybody in a shady deal because of how outspoken he's been. And because I think just building a label a certain way, structuring deals a certain way would contribute to his story that he's telling. And that's more maybe the value add than the money he's making off LaRussell's music at the moment or in the next year or whatever. So shout out to LaRussell for continuing to make moves. I had him on a live MEC session maybe 2 months ago. Had an opportunity to meet up with him in person. Super cool cat. So congrats. Also this week, today, if you're listening to the podcast, actually tomorrow, Tuesday, there's a Beatstars Meetup in Nashville. So if you're in Nashville, if you happen to meet at the Music Business Conference in Nashville, there is a Beatstars Meetup. So make sure you check out the Beatstars page. All the information should be there. So it's going to be dope. But yeah, Erin's going to be out there. I know my guy Dan Runty's going to be out there. Carl Folks is going to be out there. So looking forward to meeting people in person. Although I've met Dan in person before, but I don't think I've met Carl. But a lot of people, it's a bigger deal than I thought. Like Dan sent me all of the events that surround the conference. I'm like, is this Grammy weekend? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, man, they sent me an email 2 days ago that I didn't open till yesterday. And they're like, today is the last day to RSVP for all of these events. And I was like, damn, now I got to find somebody to finesse me in because it's a ton. It's like South by Southwest, it felt like.
Yeah, I don't do event. Like I'm more so like, hey, let's meet up for dinner. I might stop by one or two, but we'll see. But it looks like a cool weekend for people that are in the area or that are coming in to speak on a panel. But anyway, let's jump into our podcast. We got some cool topics lined up. I know Payne wants to go in on the NFT bros because they were going at him on Twitter yesterday. I saw a piece of that. But also, Drake recently signed a deal. So Drake recently signed a deal. It's a multifaceted deal with Universal Music Group, reported to be worth $400 million. We don't know the details of the deal. However, a lot of people were outspoken about it on Twitter, as they always are. There were a lot of people that suggested, oh, Drake could have gotten way more money. He should have just went independent. So wanted to get your guys' initial reaction just based off those people and their suggestion that Drake should have gone independent. I definitely have my opinions. I will wait to see what you guys have to say, and then I'll weigh in. Payne, Erinn, what are your thoughts on Drake signing this deal and people saying that he should have gone independent?
What were their reasons for Drake going independent? I mean, for me, if I'm in the position where I'm an artist that is getting deal offers, and no matter what, I mean, a label deal is a label deal. Some label deals are going to be better than others depending on who the artist is. If I have enough leverage that the label is offering me, not millions, but hundreds of millions, I'm in a pretty amazing position in the sense that all I really have to do is make my music and everyone else is going to do the work for me. I don't have to be hands-on. If I were an independent artist, I'd have to do a lot more, which is fine. It's rewarding. I encourage people to do that when they don't have that leverage. But $400 million, what's the reason against taking $400 million to remain the top rapper on the planet?
Yeah, good point, Erinn. Erinn, what were your initial thoughts?
So the point of independence is autonomy. From my understanding, is that you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, which is not actually true when you first start or even in any process of independence, because you have to a degree, succumb to a system until you can create your own, reinvent the wheel, and then you'll always need funds interjected. If Drake can take that 400 million, this is just for all the people arguing that, because a lot of the stuff that I saw online paint is that he could be so much richer if he stayed independent. And I'm like, do you know how long it takes to make $500 million? Even if that is like, even if he's getting $40 million a year for the next 10 years. And I don't think it's actually the sum total of 400 million. I think it's equivalent benefits, right? Because of the way that deals are structured. But currently, Drake is the biggest artist and now has a ton more autonomy because one, he has the label by their nuts. Like what they get, that's a huge investment. They are forced now to put all of their energy behind Drake because they need to recoup that investment. That's not 30 million. That's not even 150 million. That's damn near $500 million that they just funded into one artist. Also, Drake owns a publishing company, OVO Sound, which means that every time he writes a song, even if the label gets a cut, he's getting a cut outside of the label. Anytime his production companies, all these things, right? Like also Drake has a Nike deal. Drake can do whatever he wants. He has the autonomy that independence would render you. The perceived autonomy that independence would render you. And also he is independent because again, he has OVO Sound. He has all these different holding companies. If you've looked into Drake's business, most of his money at this point isn't even coming from the music industry because he's made wise investments. So now for the music industry to drop this type of money in your lap when you already don't need any money, why ask for the headache of now independently going up against the big three? Something that also would happen if he didn't take the deal, and I'm not saying that he had to worry about this, but if you don't take a deal with one of the big three, now all three of them don't want to help push you forward anymore, right? So it's like you go from the biggest artist to maybe an artist that's a mid-tier artist, because people don't understand how big the label are influential and how big Drake is. It's not Drake. Shout out to Drake. It's partially him, but it's mostly the label, right? And the infrastructure, it's the big machine. So if Drake now doesn't sign, now he's forced to do all of these things independently. Yes, he has a big team, whatever. He has to build a label around him, redevelop all those relationships. And now he has to walk in the room and have the conversations, or his team does, instead of the label just doing it for him. So anybody who says Drake should have went independent, I'm confused. Like, no disrespect to your thought process, but I really need to hear what value you think it would bring him. I'm somebody who does everything mostly independent. We work with 2 indie labels, so we don't have any majors, but I don't get it. If you can have your cake and eat it too, take it. The only thing that I could see as a downside is him owning his masters, right? I don't know if he did, but at this rate, he has the type of money where he could buy back his catalogs. And I'm sure there was a reversion clause in there where after 30, 40 years, it reverts back to his son, because I know he's thinking about his legacy, but also.
I don't think it's 30, 40 years. I'm sure it's like 10 years.
10,
like
15,
it's probably something short.
Okay, but realistically, who cares? He has $500 million. I mean, when I talk about legacy, you know, all the people having this conversation, what is $400 million worth to you? Practically, what is $400 million for you to say, oh, he could have gotten more? I'm speechless because I can't even, this is the internet for you. I would never look at this is a label deal. He didn't cure cancer. No disrespect to Drake. I think he's an amazing artist. $400 million is plenty. And this is on top of the other, hundreds of millions he already has. Drake is on his way to becoming a billionaire, and we have the nerve to say he should have gotten more. He makes music and he's on his way to being a billionaire, and we're saying he should. And, in regards to his legacy and generational wealth and all that, that's already there tenfold, 20-fold, 50-fold. A lot of people die and they don't leave their kids a cent. You know what I mean? I don't know.
I think anybody having this conversation is an idiot, because like Drake, you shouldn't. What the game that we play as independent artists and in the independent industry is like, it's not the game Drake playing, not the game that he wanted to play. Drake won. Like he beat the game. Like there's no reason for him to try to set up an independent operation, because there's not enough money in it for him. Right. It's different when you're talking about independent artists like a Mozzie or a Russell or even a Russ. Like Russ makes a shitload of money, but the difference that he makes being an independent artist is meaningful versus the difference that Drake could make, spending his time trying to set up an independent operation. Now, I disagree with Erinn thinking that he would take a step back in terms of his presence. I still think he would be the biggest artist in the world, but the game that he's playing is, I want billionaire status. And that kind of money is not in the music industry. If you look at anybody that has reached billionaire status more recently, any artist, whether it's Rihanna, whether it's Jay-Z, whether it's whoever, it's not music. It's not mute. You can get there a lot faster, and there's no reason for him to spend his time fucking around with music, because he already beat the game. So there's no correlation between how Drake is moving and how people that we talk to on this podcast should move, because it doesn't move the needle for Drake. It can move the needle for artists that are at a lower level, right? So those are the conversations that in which we can maybe have a debate of whether you should sign or whether you should stay independent. I think people underestimate what it takes to be a successful independent artist. You have to build out an operation that covers all of the bases that would be covered if you signed with a major record label. And it's very hard to duplicate that in a successful way. It's very hard to cover all those bases: merch, touring, publishing, everything that you have to do. It's not an easy thing to do. So when people just flippantly say, oh, he should have just stayed independent, like that lets me know you have no idea what it takes to be a successful independent artist, because it's not that easy of a decision, because I don't know who these artists have around them, and I don't know if they're capable of building that out. So just stop talking about Drake and independent, because that's just a totally different realm from what we talk about on this podcast.
Yeah, like who's an independent billionaire? You have to have the infrastructure. Only reason I feel like he's gonna drop as the biggest artist is because you have to have that machine. I'm not saying that he would be a non-point. Do you know what I'm saying? But I even think about Kanye dropping several points from I think he was the number 3. It was like Drake, whoever, and then Kanye, I think Olivia Rodrigo or whatever. I don't know. I could be wrong. And then he dropped to it's not a significant, crazy drop, but it is significant when you go from top 3. He's a 26th most streamed artist on Spotify now. Do you know what I'm saying?
That's most streamed though. Like I wouldn't just use streamed as like saying,
you're talking about cumulative.
Just in terms of he's going to be, so yeah, maybe streaming wise, he might drop, but he's still going to be able to do everything else, sell out arenas, partner with whoever, collab with whoever, so he might be the 5th most streamed artist instead of the top.
I feel that.
Oh,
I was just
well.
saying, like, there's a degradation that happens when you leave a major system because everybody is functioning for your favor. And now it's like you have to replace all of those things. Even if you have a plan and you slowly, I think about Frank Ocean. Do you know what I'm saying? And like, again, different type of situation. He's not dropping as often, but Frank Ocean's presence and artistic value is still 100% there. But I know his income is significantly different since he left Def Jam and went to, what was it, STEM? And shout out to STEM. I think that's dope. I think he is independent. That's super cool. He's still a cultural relic, but he's not as big as he would have been if he would have. And I get why he left. That's more of his style. He didn't want to have to consistently put out music. But I feel like for somebody like Drake, who's like the commercial boy, like he is pop culture.
Yeah.
He's got to be at a major label. It's like Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber just re-signed with Universal. This is the dumb shit to me. Nobody said Justin Bieber should have gone independent. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, why? That doesn't even make sense. Like, he needs the label system, and not because he can't afford to do it on his own. It's like, why rebuild Babylon when it's already there? You just got to rule.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, again, I think we can move on to the next topic because I need people to stop mentioning Drake and independent like it's the same game that, artists that tap into the MEC play. Like, it's so much different.
If my artists were offered that, I would take it. We would all take it. All of us.
Oh,
all of us.
Yeah. Well, let me put it into perspective quickly. So Universal Music Group is worth billions of dollars, $50 billion, let's say. It's about that. Take the biggest independent labels on the planet, the E1s, the Empires, they're worth a very small fraction of that. People who talk about the music business on Twitter, with very few rare exceptions, don't know anything about the music business or anything about business, period. For someone to say getting 400 million from a company that's valued at 50 billion is less favorable than doing all of it yourself somehow as just one person with no experience as an I mean, I'm not saying Drake isn't competent. Clearly he is. He's competent enough to know that he's going to take the 400 million and not try to create a structure that rivals a $50 billion long established company. That would be very ignorant of him to do. Very ignorant. And thankfully, and this is the beautiful thing about people who say stupid things on Twitter, it's not practical and it doesn't apply to the real world. And nobody that knows what they're talking about listens to any of this, which kind of leads me to my current topic, if you don't mind me transitioning, which is the NFT conversation. I'm not going to rant about it. And I know we have this policy here where we hypocritically say we're not going to speak on NFTs, and then we speak on NFTs. Now, I don't even know why I have to say it because it's so silly, but people who are in love with the concept of NFTs, I've noticed, are really reactive when you criticize or question NFTs in any regard. We don't dislike NFTs. They're great. All decentralization is great. Disrupting the music business is great. I'm just going to leave that there and then get on with what I'm going to say. I asked what the solution to the content ID problem for not just producers, but for everyone was. I mean, I had an artist the other day get blocked from posting his song on Facebook, and he owns the exclusive rights to the beat. And it's in all likelihood because his distributor flagged him. That's the problem with the content ID system. He was getting flagged by himself, essentially, because the content ID system is so messed up. So the response I got when I asked what the solution was to this problem was NFTs and blockchains will solve it all. Just sell your beats as NFTs, you fucking morons. Come on. Are you stupid? Sell your beats as NFTs. Don't be an idiot. NFTs are not a solution to everything. The framework of NFTs is great, absolutely great. Like every tool, there's tons of potential. But producers, I'm sorry, NFTs will not solve our beat selling problems. I know people are telling you that NFTs will save producers from the ugly exploitative music business and all of its problems and turn us into rich crypto whales, but it's not true. I was really excited about, and I still am, about the Web3 space. I had a great call with a company that now I can't get a hold of, so I guess there's that. But the company had a really realistic...
That's a whole nother conversation I 100% want to tack on the end of this.
Okay, cool. And it was a great convo. I was really excited. They had a really realistic view of integrating my brand into the Web3 space. It made sense. They weren't saying NFTs are going to save the day. They had practical ideas on how to build community in a long-term sense. It wasn't they weren't saying you're going to get rich overnight. You're going to sell NFTs. It was all about building community. It was all about using a very clear the same model we use on Web3 to build community. Or sorry, on Web 2 to build the same way you build your following on YouTube, and I feel like people just think, oh, just do all the stuff that you're doing that's not working in Web 2, just turn into an NFT. It's going to work. You'll be rich. That's not what they were saying, and that's a really childish way of looking at it. Now, with regards to beats, this is where all these NFT zealots just betray their own ignorance about not just the music business, because we already know no one knows much about the music business. Like 1% of the planet, not even 1%, maybe 1% of the music industry knows about the music business. When it comes to business, people really don't get it. So let me just break this down. And I don't pretend to be some elite business person. This is common sense stuff. All music consumers, modern day music consumers, virtually every single one uses Spotify, Apple, TikTok, YouTube, right? So rappers and singers put their music on Spotify, Apple, TikTok, and YouTube because that's where their consumers are. NFTs and blockchain technology aren't incorporated in any of these platforms, none. More on that in a second, because a lot of people say, well, it could happen. It could, and I'll explain why that's also problematic. So if you're selling beats, you go on YouTube and TikTok and Spotify to promote your beats because that's where the listeners are. Makes sense, right? How do people pay for beats? Through PayPal, credit cards, debit cards, Cash App, Venmo, even money orders. None of this is Web3. PayPal has 392 million active users. Venmo has 52 million users. Cash App has 30 million monthly users. But according to nonfungible.com, a site that tracks NFT transactions on popular marketplaces, most days in April and May of 2021 had between 1,000 and 3,000 unique wallets buying NFTs. That's a much smaller number. So don't tell me business 101, supply and demand. We learned that shit when we're like 4. There's no real demand for beats being sold as NFTs in the web space right now. Could it change? Yes. Has it changed? No. So I got attacked on Twitter, and I don't use that word lightly because they were, it wasn't like you're wrong. It was like you're a broke ass bitch, stupid idiot, by a handful of NFT zealots who were so offended that I didn't disrespect anybody on there. I didn't disrespect NFTs. One person I called illiterate because he couldn't type or comprehend, but there are programs for that. But I question whether NFTs were a solution to the beat selling problems that I and thousands of others face every day. And they told me how broke I was because I didn't sell millions of dollars worth of NFTs, which brings up another problem. A lot of these people are focusing when they talk about NFTs, they're focusing on the money, not the community. And as we know, that's a problem because they're presenting and marketing NFTs as this get rich quick scheme, which it's not. The people who value art are collectors, and I think the NFT space actually values art quite a bit if they're paying millions of dollars for certain pieces, not music, but certain pieces. The people that are making these statements are people who I'm just telling it like it is. didn't succeed in the music business and want desperately to believe that NFTs are going to save them. They don't understand the music business. They don't understand business, period. If they did, they would never tell producers to sell a product in a market where that product has zero demand. It doesn't make sense. And that's the worst beat selling advice you could ever give a person. The people claiming you can get rich off NFTs, music NFTs, they're citing the high cost visual art NFTs, and beats are not visual art. Again, it shows you how little these people know about business. Even in real world visual art, right? On the high end visual art paintings sell for hundreds of millions of dollars. Music has never reached that point. Never. Music has never reached that market value. And when you were talking, about Web3 space, it's the same thing. You can't compare CryptoPunk or Bored Ape to a beat or an independent artist music video. That's just not how it works. I'm not here to explain why that's how it works, why the art collection space is different from the music consumption space. It's just different. And if you don't see that, I'm not having this conversation. Again, NFTs are great. They work well for some people. The guys on Twitter claiming NFTs are the solution, and anyone who disagrees with them is an idiot. They make NFTs look bad. They're emotionally connected. They're not logically connected or experientially connected to the music NFT space. They just want to hear themselves talk. And hopefully the people seeing that happen and seeing this talk aren't saying, oh yeah, I got to quit everything I'm doing in Web 2. I got to get off YouTube. I got to stop creating content on social media and go to whatever NFT marketplace there is. I'm going to get rich there. That's not even how anyone should be looking at art, period. Now, I said I'd say more about integrating NFTs and blockchains into more mainstream music consumption platforms. And this actually comes from the conversation I had with the company, the NFT company that I can't get a hold of now. They're saying this, that already, NFTs and blockchain, those things are disrupting the music business, right? Of course they are, because it's decentralization. What happens when large companies see decentralization happening? They co-op it. Remember when the MP3 was a threat to labels? Well, the labels just banded together and created partnerships with the companies, and that's how we ended up with streaming. And everybody bitches about streaming, how low the royalty rates are, how unfair it is. The labels are making a killing off of streaming. Who's complaining? It's the artists. You think the labels aren't going to try the same thing with NFTs? They already have. Universal Music Group, who just gave Drake $400 million, already has a partnership with an NFT platform. What do you think is going to happen? Let's have a higher level conversation. If you're going to tweet me about NFTs, be prepared to talk about all this stuff, please.
Yeah.
Nike also has a company that they just acquired, like Nike. It's like the Web3 stuff is definitely not going to be much longer decentralized. But I want to go with one more stat, because you were hitting on the stats. I read this article recently, so I had to pull it back up. It's from a few months ago, so I will give that disclaimer. But it says OpenSea on track to hit 2.2 million in sales, right? Internally. Guess how many users? 846,433. If this is a get rich quick scheme, I'm saying who, where, how. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's such a small percentage of people who are going to make money off of this. If you're get rich off of it. If you're, again, like you said, it's about community, which is what I love Latasha was saying. If you are here to be a part of the gold rush, you're mishandling this, and your perception and understanding of the process is flawed. So you speaking on it is not an area of expertise, it's ignorance. And anybody who knows business, like you said, will be able to see it.
Yeah, I think when things shake out, it's going to be just as difficult to make money in NFTs as trying to do music and make money in music. Like, it's very difficult. I think, a lot of times people just get hyped up by these stories of these one-off things that happen, or they hear us talk to Latasha and she says that she sold a video for $50,000. Now, I haven't followed up with Latasha recently, but that's not something that's going to continue to happen, right? Like we went through a moment, and I've already seen things kind of calm down in the NFT space. I don't see as many stories of people selling videos that have been out for a year for $50,000. I don't see Blau. I haven't even really heard too much from Illmind lately. And I know he's heavy in the space. I know that things have just calmed down. And just like with anything, if you collect baseball cards, right? Like not all baseball cards are worth a ton of money. You have to have specific ones. You have to have rare ones. So within the NFT space, you have to buy the projects that have a story and have some significance to them, right? I just met with a friend of mine who's been working with Micah Johnson. Micah Johnson was a baseball player who dropped out of, who stopped playing baseball, professional baseball, and he developed a character named Aku. Aku is a young Black kid who wants to be an astronaut, I believe. Now, this story is catching interest of big brands, big Disney. Like there's a huge plan and there's a lot of money being put into this story and this character of Aku, and they're developing an NFT strategy. Like that's different. That might be something that could be valuable in decades, because if Disney does make a movie of Aku, then the value of the initial NFTs or any NFTs that have been put out prior to the movie, the value will probably go up. But there's a whole strategy behind it. There's access that you get from having these different versions of Aku. But these are the rare projects. Like there's probably thousands and thousands of projects, and most of them are falling flat on their face. So, I know that we can cherry pick people that have done well in NFTs, but when all said and done, it's going to be very difficult to sell NFTs for a lot of money, just like it's very difficult to pretty much do anything in entertainment. So, well,
let's talk about cherry picking, because this happens. I had someone on Twitter the other day talking about, I don't want to pay for beats because Russ doesn't pay for beats. I'm like, one, you're hiding behind Russ and you're cherry picking Russ as this very exceptionally independent, successful artist, but Russ has paid me for beats. Okay. So, and he's paid a lot of people for beats.
Where did he get that? Where did he get that from?
Because he's an idiot. Everyone on Twitter is an idiot, damn near. But
because Russ still says like, yeah, I make my own beats.
And he does.
But that isn't exclusively. And I'm sure people send him free beats because he's got momentum, and if they'll make the money on the back end, he's
worked with a lot of producers at this point. Like
Boy Wonder, Dilly.
I'm sure he's paid them.
Scott Storch. He brought Scott Storch back.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I guess that speaks volumes about how big of Russ fans they actually are. I don't like when people hide behind other people, but people are always coming up with exceptions, always coming up with just cherry picking exceptions. And it's, the NFT space is something that the majority of people don't understand, which is why I say, it's also a problem looking at it as this viable marketplace, because so few people have access to it. And people who are really in the NFT world understand those accesses, those accessibility problems, the barriers, and they're trying to actively make it more accessible. Because Spotify, right? Like even with the MP3 and stuff like that, there was a learning curve. You had to install Napster on your computer. You had to know how to search, back in the SoulSeek days or whatever, you had to install a program with kind of an ugly user interface and use it and create download folders and know how to transfer and burn CDs and all that. The learning curve for buying an NFT is way, way steeper, way, way steeper. Compare that to going on YouTube or going on Spotify. These are apps, or Apple Music. You buy a phone and that those apps are already installed. Toddlers can do that. There's no learning curve there. So who thinks in their minds, other than I guess a bunch of knuckleheads on Twitter, that suddenly billions of music consumers are going to say, you know what, we're sick of just getting all the free music on the planet easily delivered to our devices. We're going to sidestep all that and go through this process that has a high upfront cost and something that we don't even understand. We're gonna migrate there, and then all producers are gonna be like, great, because we've been sitting here just waiting for that. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I think you guys really that the week that I wasn't here and you guys posted something saying like our NFTs bad investments. Like I think you guys got under a lot of people's skin and became like the NFT bashers when that's never been
No, but why?
the
What is this is like a religious, don't talk to people, especially really, really extremely religious people about their religion. Don't ask them questions because it's a waste of time and they could get violent and you know what I mean? Don't ask them questions. Like if you bring up certain inconsistencies in scripture or if you bring up similarities between ancient religions, it becomes a volatile conversation. People are really partisan politics. If you want to bring up, Joe Biden has been rolling back environmental protections. You like Trump, like I don't want to get political, but it becomes this really hostile conversation. The NFT conversation is horrible.
I would say for uneducated, insecure people in any of those spaces. Do you know what I'm saying? It's more of a identity crisis because they've linked themselves to this thing. Okay. So if you say that it's an inconsistency, they feel like it's a reflection on them. So like as somebody who's pretty religious, I don't care if you like, please call out the flaws because there's no perfection in anything. I feel like you seem stupid if you're like, no, there's, so like they just feel stupid to me. They feel insecure. If your identity is linked to something that you have not thoroughly vetted, then I think that you're foolish. But if you would still like to be there on hope, then that's fine. But just say that. Don't try to make it a factual thing. That's my only gripe. But I would like to tack on something. I know Dame has something to say, but I would like to tack on my gripe with NFT companies at the end of this.
Yeah. I think we need to be more careful on the words that we choose, right? Because like saying are NFTs a bad investment is going to get we know it's going to get a lot of people riled up, right? But that's the same thing as, like I said earlier, that's us saying are baseball cards a bad investment? A shitload of them are a bad investment. A shitload of NFTs are a bad investment. A shitload of cars are a bad investment. A shitload of watches are a bad investment. But if you know what you're doing, there are select ones in all of those categories that could be great investments, right? So we can't just blanketly say, NFTs are a bad investment, right? Because they're going to come back and they're going to have specific projects where people have made millions of dollars. So it's the conversation is a little more nuanced, and that's, I see why the NFT bros are ready to attack when we use certain words. And I think
it's a valid question though. Like on my video this week, I said, is your team costing you opportunities? I don't feel like that's like a clickbaity thing. I think that's like, are NFTs overall a bad investment? And I believe overall, if you're looking to get rich, they are.
But if you know what you're doing, right? Like you could say option, like, because a lot of people lose money buying and selling options. You have to really know what you're doing in certain spaces. So if you know what you're doing, then things aren't bad investments. Like companies overall, like companies are bad investments. Like if you just blindly like throwing darts, you're going to lose a shitload of them. But if you are a good private equity investor, you can place the right bets.
Yeah, okay, but in our defense, that video was titled NFTs Can Be Really Bad Investments, which really is not debatable because many people have made bad NFT investments. So it's a truth unto itself. Same way, we had another one, and I think, Dame, you named this one. It said some artists can't rap their verse all the way through, which is absolutely true. Some can't. But did that offend the people who could, or the rappers who love Tech9, who are like, Tech9 can rap his verse all the way through? Fuck you, Dame. Yeah, but that's a silly reason to get mad just because there are exceptions, which the title accounts for. If the title had said, NFTs are trash, don't invest in NFTs, please come at us, because that's something very ignorant. We would never say that. We're not that ignorant. I understand that people do have a reaction to something they feel strongly about. But as Erinn was saying, if you link your identity to something as, I guess, impersonal and contentious as a framework for proving the ownership of a digital asset, even as I say that sentence, linking your identity to a system that proves the ownership of a digital asset. What a weird sentence. Why are you linking your identity to that? To the point where now you're on Twitter calling people idiots and like I'm laughing. I blocked everyone because it just got boring, but it was funny at first because someone was like, well, that's why you only make $31,000 a year. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he posted a screen. I guess you can go on YouTube and, or not YouTube, you can go on some like YouTube channel value estimator, and he estimated that my channel was worth $31,000. He's like, yeah, well,
as one stream of income, I think that's phenomenal. Shout out to you, babe. That's dope.
I didn't know my channel was worth that much. So if I'm looking at it like that, cool, but I mean, I live in a 4-bedroom house. What you really think? It was weird. But it was they were grasping at anything they could just to insult me. Not because I'm insulting.
No, they want to win, right? It's a public conversation. They don't like, people aren't going to be like, oh, my bad, I was wrong, right? They're going to keep trying to find something that can ultimately lead to them not feeling like they lost, right?
But it's silly because they don't lose. But that's the thing.
He changed the conversation. Like he changed the conversation. It went from music NFTs, and then he found examples from like other types of art, and then it slowly morphed so that he can feel like he wasn't wrong. And that's what a lot of people,
I think it was multiple people. I couldn't tell the difference between them because they all had like similar usernames, and none of them could spell correctly. So it was just like they all blended in. But I think it was multiple. I think it was like 3 people. Because there was a woman at the end who was just like, oh, let me get out on this.
I didn't see that. But I just see time and time again, people on the internet, they argue, and their argument slowly morphs to a point where you can kind of like be on the same page, sort of, so that they could be like, oh yeah, see, we're both right. Like, I'm not wrong. We're both kind of right in our own little way. And it's like, no, you just changed the whole shit up. Like,
well, I would have been fine with that. But I'll tell you, like, if I'm in a relationship and these are the conversations we have where it's like, she's upset that I follow an Instagram model. I'm like, okay, cool. Let's talk about that. And suddenly the conversation becomes, and your mother doesn't respect me. Then it's like, well, what's the real issue? You keep moving the goalpost every time we resolve one issue. That's kind of a toxic relationship.
You got to stop having toxic relationships with your Twitter followers, Payne. I guess
they're not. Oh, some of them were my followers. That's the other ironic part. Because again, I'm not on Twitter calling people broke. I'm not on Twitter calling people morons. If I question NFTs and you love NFTs, I think the best thing you can do is just give me the information that will counter what I'm saying. That's it. Like, again, I want to learn about this stuff. I want to understand it. I want to integrate myself into it. At this point, I'm just really turned off because a lot of the talk is just these grand declarations that NFTs are going to fix everything. And then when you say how, they're like, well, because blockchain, how? That's what I mean. It's like the religious conversation where you'll ask somebody, why is this true? Because it is. Okay, yeah. But and I'll ask people because I want to learn. And shout out to all the people. Like, I had a Muslim friend, and I was asking him questions about Islam, and like, why is this a part of the religion? And at a certain point, he would just say, I don't know. I got to go speak to the I got to go to the Islamic Center and seek additional information about it. I'm like, great. Cool, but he wasn't like, because fuck you, that's why. Because you're a broke ass bitch, that's why. So I don't, people are just out here upset at anything and everything. And you tie your fate and you tie your identity to something that doesn't love you back. It's all bad for you. It really, like, if I, people do that with celebrities too, Like if my identity, just because like people say I look like Drake sometimes, if my identity were tied to being a Drake fan, and I love Drake's music, and when people say stuff like Drake is talentless and this and that, like, I think they're making a stupid statement, but I'm not gonna die on that hill. I'm not gonna kill somebody for making that statement. I'm just gonna say, okay, reminder to not talk to that person about Drake.
I saw somebody getting some clout for being a fake Drake. Maybe that's something you can do, Payne. Since you're broke, you might make some money being a fake.
He was doing club appearances.
You could get some club appearances being a fake Drake.
Can I tell you something that I did do?
You gotta step your game up.
This happened at South by, I swear to you. It was at an iStandard event. Shout out to Jay Hatch. Cardo was there. I have this picture with Cardo. He's looking tall as fuck. And I walked in there and I had a hat on. And there were these two women that were whispering. And I don't know why they were looking at me and whispering. I don't know why I knew this was going to work. But I walked up to one of them like, good to meet you. My name's DJ Drama. And the other woman looked at her and goes, see, I told you. And I felt really bad. So immediately I was like, I'm sorry, I'm not DJ Drama. I just kind of know that especially with the hat on, I look like him because he's like a super light-skinned mixed dude and blah, blah, blah. Then they got upset. I thought it was funny. So I never did it again. But I feel like, DJ Drama, Drake, Don Cannon, Dame Ritter, DJ Payne 1, Abe,
don't try to throw me in the mix. I've never gotten confused with Drake. Try to throw me
No, I'm saying like we're all kind of like a part of the same, people confuse us with one another. People, how many times people call me Abe or like can't tell the difference between me and Dame. So I'm saying there's like there's a commonality here. There's some kind of common ground between this unofficial community.
Anyway, I know Erinn wanted to bring something back up about something.
I was enjoying the Drake lookalike conversation. I don't even know if I really want to get into it, but since I brought it up, I think everybody's going to be like, what did she want to say? But I have a huge gripe with all of the NFT companies who pop up making these grandiose conversations. I would say we were working with 3, maybe 4 who were like, we're super interested in your artist. We have this and this and this, and we want you to spend money on this. And I'm very quick to be like, I need some sort of proof. How about y'all partner with us? We'll try one thing out. We'll do a revenue share, because if you really believe in it, we can make it go. Excuse me. Now there's only one left standing. Okay, like their turnover rate is insane. I'll be emailing one person one day, and then the next day I'll get a bounce back email, and then I'll hit somebody else in the company like, oh yeah, they're no longer with us. Or one company we were invested in a project with, we had to pay a lot of fees up front. I can't get them on the phone now. And what I've heard from one of their associates that I have, their phone number is, hey, we just moved into our $1 billion round of funding. We're the team is really busy and overworked right now. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck what y'all got going on. Y'all tied me into this bullshit. I need some answers. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that, the unprofessionalism with NFT companies, I feel like it's a trickle-down effect to their fans. That's why we're getting all these bullshit ass tweets, because the company's inconsistencies to me are the same as what we're seeing on the internet. They don't deliver on what they say they're going to deliver on. They're not timely. They talk about all these benefits, but they don't know how to be real humans. Do you know what I'm saying? They're like, well, this and this and this. And I'm like, explain this to me, make it make sense, because not only do I need to understand it, I need to believe it. So when I tell my artist and they ask me all the questions around it, I can explain it. I have not had that experience. So for me, even as willing as I am to get into the Web3 stuff, and we have some steps there. I got a crypto wallet, you know what I'm saying? But it's just, there's so much room for growth. And I'm not shitting on Web3. It's happening. We're here. It's inevitable. but there is a ton of room for growth. And I think the self-awareness in this space has to grow, especially with these companies. I think they're really dropping it. They're all about community. Y'all are super dropping the ball on the people who are going to move the buck forward. I know I'm not this billion-dollar company. I know I'm not going to help you be a unicorn, but as soon as you make that money, you're going to come back to me because you need my artists. Y'all are not cool. Facts. Nobody is really interested. Y'all need us to translate this to the world. NFT companies, if you hit me, y'all need to have your money, your ducks, all this in a row. I don't want to talk to any more NFT companies. The ones hitting me talking about, we got this opportunity. No, I'm the opportunity at this point because y'all got to get y'all shit together.
But that's not even that. So that's not even just specific to NFT companies. There's a lot of people in this industry, or probably just a lot of people in general, that will string you along knowing that the house is burning, right? Like you're getting involved with them and they're trying to shield you from what's really happening. The house is burning. The house is burning. They're telling you everything's great. Everything's wonderful, instead of communicating like some of the issues that they're having. And then eventually they jump out of the house and then you can't even find them and the whole house done burnt down. That happened with my conversation. Remember that company Loom? The company Loom.
Also an NFT company.
Yeah, they pivoted. Yeah, they actually pivoted to, because they didn't start out as an NFT company. That was the company that Neo was a part of. They pivoted. And then I circled back when they did the pivot because I was interested in talking with them on the MEC platform to see kind of why they were pivoting and what that was all about. And I literally had the conversation about bringing him on the MEC a week before the company literally folded. So you're telling me that you want to talk with me on the MEC to talk about Loom, and next week your company folds? Like you didn't know that was happening last week? Like you didn't know there were some internal issues or you're running out of funding or whatever the hell the issue was? Like people's communication is just terrible, and they'll string you along, knowing that their shit is on fire, but they'll say whatever they can to just continue the conversation to shield you from the truth. And so maybe a lot of that stuff's happening in the NFT space because a lot of people jumped in not realizing that maybe it's not the opportunity that they thought it was, and now people are jumping out of it. So a lot of those conversations are happening now, but I think I've had a lot of those conversations over the years, whether it's with an app, whether it was Loom. Like a lot of these people just tried to shield you from the truth, knowing that their shit is on fire for real. So I just think that's bad relationship.
I just don't want bounce emails. I'm amazed at how many just individuals contact me, and then the second I reply, I get a bounce back saying this user's account is full or something. Like, you don't know your Gmail's full?
Yeah, I can go on another tangent too. I don't like people that email me with email addresses that I can't go to the website to. So like if Erinn emails me and it's like Erinn at buildyourown.dreams.com, and then I go to buildyourdreams.com and it doesn't exist. Like, why are you using that email? That to me is very unprofessional too. If you use an email of a website, of your website, that website better be up.
Or people with their website in their bio and it's not up anymore. It's like, come on, you're on Instagram every day. It'll be like their name.com. And I'm like, oh, tight. What do they do? Nothing.
Nothing.
That shit is crazy to me because now you look worse than if you didn't have a website.
Right. Exactly. It just totally defeats the purpose. Like, why have it there, or why use the email? Because the email is part of your marketing. Like, people are going to go to the website. Anyway, I think we've done enough ranting for the day.
All right. Okay. End rant. Appreciate you tuning in. This was a rant. We're now becoming a rant-based podcast, which is fine with me.
Stop going at Payne, or he's going to want to let it all out on the podcast. So leave him alone. Stop going at Payne on Twitter.
You should have seen that frustrating text exchange that I spoke on the last time?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Last time it was a text. This time it was a Twitter exchange.
Yeah, but I posted the actual text exchange because I thought it was hilarious. And people were like, oh, this is what you're talking about.
Next week, Payne's going to want to talk about a voicemail he got. Leave Payne alone. Shit.
I've talked about voicemails. I remember I played the voicemail.
Hashtag leave Payne alone.
Yeah, is Chris Crocker? Maybe we can bring Chris Crocker back.
Who the hell is that?
He's the Leave Britney Alone guy. I thought that's what we were all referencing.
I had no idea.
You guys don't remember old school YouTube and all like the YouTube? It would.
Oh, was that
suck.
Leave Britney Alone?
Yeah,
Was that
yeah.
that one? Oh, yeah. Leave Britney alone.
And by the way, yeah, we should have left Britney alone. But having said that, it would suck to be that kind of first wave of YouTube influencers that, those people were getting millions and millions of views and subscribers. And then suddenly, Rebecca Black, all of them. And then suddenly it's like, oh, now we're paying you guys. But you kind of missed the boat on that one. So how frustrating. Because, a lot of those folks, like the Tajon Days and like all those people should be rich right now. Anyway, appreciate you tuning in. We'll be back same time, same place. And then also, remember Mondays and actually just Thursdays now on Beatstars.
The MEC is going through a transition. We'll keep you guys posted on the transition and to be posted and to keep up with all of the updates on the MEC as we go through this transition. Just text MEC to 844-206-7800 so we can keep you guys up to speed on what exactly is going on. But there are no more Monday sessions. There are Thursday sessions, but even that might be morphing in the very near future. So we'll keep y'all posted.
Thank you once again. And I will be texting you if you do text that number. Peace.
Peace.